So what I'm trying to offer here is what I call 4 levels of student empowerment. Now the word power has some negative and positive connotations. I'm going to only emphasize the positive today and really say that there are very appropriate ways for us to, as adults, to give more power to students. Now, I'm not in favor of just handing over the world to a 9th grader because they don't have a full developed sense of judgment yet, but they really are exercising their first feelings of managing their own curriculum. And if we stifle that, we usually end up having discipline problems and rebellion, quite honestly. And that's no fun. Then you have a really antagonistic relationship going on, and you see that in some schools that are way too strict. So I'm going to be emphasizing 4 different levels of empowerment, and the relationship between the teacher and the student is a little different at the level 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to walk you through those 4 levels. You can see them in the handout, and just talk about what's it like when a teacher is treating a student in a certain way about what they're learning when they're at level 1, 2, 3, or 4. I also will be referring to educational psychologists that I have studied, and some of these are ideas that Glenview people might be already familiar with, and some of them are ones maybe you're not familiar with, and I'd really like to encourage you to learn more about them. Okay, so I'm focusing for now. Most of my examples are on 9th and 10th grade, and yet I'm also implying that it could be done with other ages as well. For instance, I use all of these ideas in my college level, where I work with freshmen through seniors, even graduate students. It also could be used with younger grades. You just have to decide what is the developmental appropriateness. This ties in phrases like teacher-directed, student-directed, self-directed learning. It also brings in ideas about what we call covering versus uncovering a curriculum. It brings in ideas from Gibbons, from David Perkins from Harvard, Howard Gardner from Harvard, John Gatto. So anyway, I've pulled, as I said, synthesized ideas from lots of different areas, and you'll see me referring to many of them as well. But I'm trying to simplify it so that it's something you can remember and then decide what are going to be policies that you would want to set up as a board member with future teachers and how they would try to really manage this. But if everybody understands the 4 levels of student and teacher empowerment, then you'll be able to refer to, okay, this curriculum is going to be at level 1, but this curriculum over here is going to be at level 2 or 3 or 4. And really, you can work at all 4 levels. And a teacher can experiment at all 4 levels and negotiate with a student at all 4 levels. And you can decide, as a school, we're going to maybe operate completely at level 1 or 4 or 3. I just want you to feel free to climb up and down the ladder, because there are real advantages and disadvantages to each of the levels. Okay, so it allows teachers to gradually experiment, and it's based on theories, research, and real-life application. So I just want you to know this is well-grounded in research. It also really, in my opinion, can be applied to religious education. And as you'll see in the handout in a minute, I'm trying to give examples of how that can be the case. So a quick review of some of the foundational doctrines. Again, look at the handout. The Ishmael rational is one key doctrine that I'm working on here. And the way I understand what the writings say about the Ishmael rational, which opens up in adolescence, it's different than the Isaac rational, which opens up at around age 20 or 25. The Ishmael rational is when a young person is first starting to think for themselves. They love to learn new information, but they also love to follow their own passions and their own interests in things. And if we stifle that, we'll probably get rebellion. They're also very quick to criticize others. They're very quick to judge others. They're quick to find fault. And that's why they still need to have adults around. They need kind, understanding adults who can guide them toward opportunities to be charitable to others and maybe even serve others. And very often when a teacher or a parent or a mentor guides somebody to be of service to others, it changes the whole tone. They go from being very, very critical to it brings out almost the angels in them to see that they are able to be of service to others. So it changes everything when they move from an attitude or a tone of just criticizing all the adults or everybody's flaws to how can I use the information I'm learning today to be of service tomorrow, not waiting 10 years. So that's really based on doctrine, and that's really important for us to keep that in mind. And as you see the themes I'm going to talk about, we need to do something different than the current public schools, which de-emphasize use to the neighbor and much more just accumulation of facts. Obviously, other foundational doctrines are the love of use, that heaven is a kingdom of uses, and that we are all still spiritually growing, and we all have our own unique pathways. There's not just one way to heaven. All religion is of life, and the life of religion is to do good. So, I really like to look at these 4 levels. There could be 10 levels, but I'm going to try to keep it simple and look at the 4 levels. And as you'll see, I try to picture these in different ways to help you in your memory. At level 1, I show that the teacher has got great big letters, meaning that the teacher has more power. The teacher has more responsibility for defining the curriculum, and the student has much less. At the 2nd level, the teacher has a little less power, and the student gains some power. And moving on the continuum, the teacher's letters get smaller and smaller, and the student letters get bigger and bigger. Of course, that implies higher or bigger amounts of student empowerment. Now, I don't want to have people be afraid of that. Again, we're not talking about the adults just packing up and leaving. We're talking about the changing relationship between the teacher and the student at each level. So let's talk about some of these particularly.